Doing the right thing with the right thing. Okay, now I think I've got it on the right thing. Maybe. Is it working? Can you guys see me? Doing the right thing with the right thing. Here we are. Okay, now I think I've got it on the right thing. Maybe. Okay, now I've got the right thing streaming. Get this shared up. Here we are. Okay, now I think I've got it on the right thing. Maybe. Stop. Okay, now I've got the right thing streaming. Mute myself. It's shared up. Alright, I know, I'm not trying to ignore you guys, I'm just trying to get this all taken care of. Alright. Great, Brian, thank you for letting me know you can see and hear me. I'm just making sure I've got this all set up here, getting the word out. As we know, the bird, the word. Okay. Seems like it's all doing what it's supposed to do. Okay. Double check one more time. Another random stream going. Nope. Okay. Seems like I've got it this time. Alright, hi everyone. Karneck here, Star Wars Armada Explained. Thanks for joining me for my Hangout session. Sorry I was a little bit behind. Went on a hike this morning and just was a little late getting back in. The roads had a little bit of traffic on it, but that's alright. So went on a nature hike and it was great. We climbed the top of Smith Rock here in Central Oregon and we got some great pictures. And when I say we, I mean me and my girlfriend Michelle. She's sitting over there. Now we're just kind of resting because it was definitely a little bit of some exertion. But anyway, I'm here. We're doing the thing. And we're chitting and we're chatting. So as I've been mentioning on my comments for my channel, that I had some big news to announce today. And I didn't know if I was going to have big news to announce or not, because like with all things, you just don't know until you know. And I finally found out yesterday. Make sure people know I'm streaming live. My main channel. Post. Perfect. Okay, so what's the big news? What have I been trying to hype up for some time now? So I was outreached by someone working for Fantasy Flight Games last month, and they extended an offer to me to become an official judge for them. It's not full employment, but they've extended me a contract to come be their official judge for them at Gencon this year. So completely took me by surprise, blew me out of the water, because if you guys may or may not know, the previous judge, Ian Cross, actually started working full-time with FFG. He's now a full-time employee. He moved up. He's their event manager now. And so when he vacated that position, they no longer had a contracted judge for them to have. And my name, I guess, was one of several on the list that they discussed internally, and they outreached that offer to me a month ago, just saying, hey, are you interested in anything like this? This is not, the official request. This is just a, hey, are you interested? Can you actually do it? Yada, yada. I said, yeah, I would love to. I would be super excited about that because obviously part of my channel here is rule explanations and talking about Star Wars Armada and focusing on trying to explain the game and understand the game in depth. And so I'm jumping on that thing to become a judge. So not only for Gencon, but they said that there is future opportunity for future contracts. So not only Gencon, but potentially I could become the world's judge for the World Championship next year, along with a couple other possibilities. And I'm just super excited about it. So now I'm going to Gencon, and so I kind of spoiled it a little bit early. If you guys are on the Discords at all, either the SWAE Discord or the Star Wars Armada Discord, like I was just so excited to share the news, I shared it already. But that's the big announcement. That's the big thing. And again, this doesn't not mean that I'm an employee of FFG. I don't have any inside knowledge. I don't know what's being play tested. I'm not a play tester. All I am is I'm just a judge, and I make rulings. That also does mean that I get a somewhat better line of communication to like trying to bug the developers to answer some questions, specifically about some rule stuff, things like that. Doesn't guarantee that I'll get any answers faster than anyone else, but it's just another way for me to be able to poke and hopefully prod, some answers out of the guys who maintain the content for Star Wars Armada, so that we can try to get some things cleared up or better organized, written, etc. So I'm super excited for it. I'm very, very excited for it. They also extended the offer of like, well, since you're going to be there, do you want to work on the flight crew while you're at Gen Con? I'm like, heck yeah, I'll work on the flight crew, which is the quasi, not like volunteer, but definitely it's like a position where you do demo for like games for them. Not just for Star Wars Armada. I'm going to be trying to demo either Armada, or I don't know how to play Legion, but I'm sure I could pick it up. I want to try to do demo for like Legion, the new Outer Rim board game that just got released yesterday. I need to place my order at my game store to get a copy picked up. So lots going on. I want to pick up a copy because I want to play it with my my brothers, and I want to record us playing a game because we all love Star Wars, big fans of it. What else is going on? Not a whole lot, just working a lot. I've been working a lot, and that's why my videos, I've been trying to keep that up consistent, but like with all things, some days I get home and I'm just exhausted from work, but I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping a video a day, coming out, because I want to try to get caught up on what few cards I have left, so that I'm ready for when the SSD and Rebellion in the Rim drop. And by the way, this, if you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to ask me. This is honest back and forth chat, hangout sesh. What content I provide is driven by whatever you guys want to put forth. There was a question someone asked. Here, ask SWAE anything. Oh, he took it off Rules Q&A and he put it in here at 12:30. 60. So, as an Imperial player, how do you get your ISD to do enough damage to a Home 1 or a large Republic ship? By Republic, I assume you mean the Alliance to Restore the Republic, not like the old Republic. When they have the stinking electronic countermeasures, they can always use their brace, it seems, and he's posting that for the live stream. Okay, one blink to me. How do you kill large ships? You need to force the expenditure of that brace beforehand, or if they're saving that brace to tank your large ship damage, you need to punish them for that by having either multiple ships or multiple squadrons shooting at that ship. Now, specifically for MC-80s, they are very tough nuts to crack because they have so many shields, and with the double redirects. So how do you crack them? Like with anything squadrons, um, you know, because if you are throwing squadrons at them, yeah, they're redirecting that damage from their shields from where you're hitting either to surrounding zones. The thing is that if you're trying to shoot an MC-80, I know they've got the really big, large broadsides, and it can be hard to just try to get line of sight onto just one. But if you can get your ship into position where it can shoot one arc or another, if you've got an option to shoot both, pick an arc where they have to, where that you throw your squadrons in. Because yeah, if they redirect to one side, um, essentially you're just trying to get them to redirect damage away to where they think you're going to shoot. This is mainly a case if you have XI7s. Because remember, with XI7 turbo lasers, you can only redirect one damage. So if you can see two different arcs and you just pick one, at some point, they're going to have to shuttle damage over to the other arc, depending on how many squadrons you're throwing. And then at that point, you just kind of have to pick the arc that's the weakest from those two. It's just lots of concentrated firepower. I mean, it's the same way you take down an ISD. You just need to focus a lot of firepower, and not just with one big attack. Things like ISDs and MC-80s, anything that has the ability to brace and have electronic countermeasures, it's not about throwing the one huge attack. It's about trying to throw in as much damage beforehand to punish them for not using their brace. So that's how I would answer that question. To sum it up, punish them for the fact that they're not using their brace by throwing as much damage as you can into the arc. Or if you have boarding troopers, obviously they can't brace if you've got a boarding trooper Avenger or something like that. But that's the only way you can punish MC-80s. Otherwise, if you're trying to trade long range shots with them, like at red range, you'll never bust through, because that's where the MC-80s shine. They shine at long range, and that's where they want to stay. Even against Crymoons, ISD Crymoons. I mean, unless that guy is running like H9 quad turbo lasers, so that way if you get the one red ACK and you get the other ACK, something like that can definitely work, because you want to try to again have follow-up shots on him so that he's spending tokens. So then you, like for example, if he's already spent a redirect token earlier, the MC-80 has, and you get the double accuracy, you hit the brace and you hit the green redirect, meaning that if they want to redirect, they have to spend the spent token, they have to ditch it, which that is the worst thing for MC-80s, because they rely on those redirects so heavily. So if you can get them to ditch, because they're always going to use ECM to brace, right? So if you've got the other green redirect token locked, you're forcing them to discard a redirect. That's one less thing that they can use to try to shuttle shields around. It's just MC-80s are tough. They are super tough nuts to try to bring down. But so are Star Destroyers, and just like with all things, squadrons, and trying to do as much attacks into an MC-80 before activating your big swinging hitter. Because again, as I mentioned before, they're trying to save that brace for the big hit. And that's the other thing, is if you can roll, like if you are using like Arcadins or CR90s to hit an MC-80, if you're rolling, like 3-4 damage, okay, well, they redirect once, that's all the shields on one side. If you have another small ship do that again, okay, that's all the shields on the other side. So yeah, they may have all their shields still left on the front, but now they don't have anywhere to redirect that damage to. If you can get one more ship or some squadrons to start pounding on that front, well then, okay, so they save their brace, but now they have no more shields, and you can pound straight into that whole zone, especially in the situation where if you can get the double accuracy, you lock the brace and you lock their contain. Of course they're going to brace the damage, but now they're taking a face-up crit. It's all about trying to take away their options. Ultimately, it's just you have to try to have the right amount of activations and have the right amount of way to be able to throw damage. Let's see, Michael says Intel Officer, Salone Fighters Avenger. Yeah, I mean, Intel Officer is definitely a great way for them to not ever have them use their brace, because they use it once and it's gone. Or yeah, having it spent by Salone so that Avenger can just blast away. I mean, that's why it's such a powerful combo. I mean, that's why they nerfed Avenger to go from it used to work on every single attack to just you have to pick one. And even then, it's still an extremely powerful card for 5 points. It's ridiculous. Mon Karen good, debatable, but it's still a really good title. That's the thing too, is like Von Karen will eat MC80s alive because especially if they've got XI7s on the Mon Karen with a even XI7s, or if you swap that out for the HIEs, and because they can't cancel HIE, so you're stripping all those shields off, by triggering that. So there's multiple ways to crack them. But it's a large ship. Like, large ships are meant to be approached with a plan in mind for how do you plan to kill that ship. And it's not so much just throw everything you have at it. In some situations, you need to evaluate, is it worth my time to try to take this large ship down? Or should I try to pick off everything around it, grab those points, and then just stiff arm that large and just play keep away? So there's definitely multiple tactics for approaching them. Depending on what kind of list you have. If you are running just a ton of small ships, just pure MSU, you're going to have a hard time cracking typically those large ships because you're usually not able to put out enough big whammies that they just can't repair, or keep themselves alive by doing repair tokens and shuttling shields around. That's the thing too, is like if you got an MC80, typically they'll just love to spam repair, and if you can take out their CommsNet flotilla that's nearby, so that it stops sending them over either the navigation token that they need for like their engine techs or the repair token that they use to just move shields around. Like if you can take out that flotilla that's giving them these tokens, that's a great way to really hamstring or cripple the plan of what that player is trying to do with them. Because the MC80s, their power comes from the fact of they don't need to do navigation commands. They really don't, especially if they have engine techs. As long as that flotilla that is hugging up against them is able to feed them navigation tokens, they'll just use that to trigger engine techs over and over and over again to get into the positions that they want without having to speed up. Because they really don't need the navigation. I mean, is it helpful? For sure. There's definitely instances where you want the nav command, but they can just spam repair compared to something like a Star Destroyer, where a Star Destroyer really wants to navigate, because again, MC80 is a broadside heavy ship. It can just keep going in a smooth arc formation, but a Star Destroyer, since it's all of its firepower is in the front, it has to keep on target. In order to keep on target, you got to be nabbing the turn with whatever's trying to get out of your front arc. So Star Destroyers typically just can't sit back and spam repair like an MC80 can. Let's see here. Does Overload Pulse require the blue crit to go through as damage before it exhausts defense tokens, or do you have to roll it then exhaust the defense tokens? Yeah, I can answer that question for you. So let me pull up Vassal here, give you a demonstration. Yeah, guys, if you got questions about rules, you got questions about anything going on with me, or just any Star Wars stuff, you want, because I don't not only do Star Wars Armada, but I also I've been playing, not recently, but I have a group for Gloomhaven. We play Gloomhaven. I do some airsofting. I do lots of different stuff. All right, let's pull this up here. So in this situation, I'll just go ahead and pop out a Star Destroyer. Plop, plop. And we're not going to say it's a, we'll say it's an ISD-2. For some intents purposes, we'll pop out the Ion Upgrade Overload Pulse. Okay, and for giggles, let's pull out an MC75. Flip them around. Throw on the default set of values. There we are. Okay. I'm reading your question again. Does Overload Pulse require the blue crit to go through as damage before it exhausts defense tokens, or do you have to roll it, then exhaust defense tokens? Okay, so essentially what you're asking is, how does the attack step work? So I'm just going to go through the entirety of the attack step, because a lot of people will try to pick out like multiple different parts of the attack step, and then especially for new players, they can get really confused unless you specifically know like what a person is talking about when he's talking about a step in the attack step. So let's just go through the whole thing. So we have here on the bottom, we have a Star Destroyer ISD-2. We'll say that this is a MC-75 armored cruiser. So the ISD-2 at the front throws 4 red, 4 blue. So we're just going to make a front-to-front attack here. He's going to roll his initial attack pool, which is the 4 red, 4 blue. That's a pretty good roll. All right, now Overload Pulse. What does that say on the card? It says blue critical, exhaust all of the defender's defense tokens. So now that you've rolled your initial attack pool, you look at your die. In this situation, we see we have a hit, accuracy, double hit, hit for red, and we have a hit, hit, accuracy, and blue critical icon. So in order for Overload Pulse to be able to trigger, you need the blue critical icon. When does that actually resolve? So we're still in the attacker's attack step. You've rolled your initial attack pool. Now if you have any card abilities like, Darth Vader, if you want to re-roll any die, or if you have any add-on effects, like, for example, if you have like DTT, Dual Turbo Laser Turret, where you can add a red die, and then remove a die from the die pool after that card. So this is your modifying die step. This is where you can add die. This is where you can re-roll any die, change any die to any settings, etc. Now we move on into the spend defense token step. So Overload Pulse does not trigger yet. Okay, because why is that? Well, your opponent may have cards or abilities that can remove that blue critical from your die pool. So Overload Pulse does not resolve yet. Obviously, if that die face is showing later on the attack step, you can trigger it when we'll get to that. So the next step after the attacker step is the defender. In the spend defense token step, this is when the defender can now spend any defense tokens, one of each type that he wishes, or if he has any upgrade cards that can change, remove the attacker's die, he can. What are some things that can change the attacker's die? Well, for example, if this was a ship that had evade and you're at long range, what's going to happen? Well, that ship would spend an evade token and cancel the blue critical, in which case he would spend that token. In this situation, we're going to say, you know what, it's at close range, and he doesn't have any cards or abilities to force a reroll. No Lando Calrissian, Orphan the Empire, no Captain Burnson, or any other method, no Target Scramblers or anything like that. So that's pretty much going to be the die here. So we're going to say that this MC-75, he's got ECM, the 2 accuracies. So let's say that the Star Destroyer accuracy is contained in his brace. We're going to say the MC-75 uses his ECM to unlock his brace, and then he's got a redirect available to him. And when you do... Oh, oops, that was the wrong token. There we go, refresh. So he's declaring, I'm using ECM to free my brace, and I am going to be spending redirect. And when at this point, when you say you're going to be using redirect, you do actually declare which hull zone you are redirecting to. You don't wait. A lot of players will wait until afterwards and be like, oh, now I want it here. And the reason why you can't do that is because there are some critical effects that could change the outcome, and then people will just change their minds on where they want damage to go. So okay, we've spent the defense tokens. So again, to go back through, the attacker has rolled his attack pool. He's modified his die. We're in the spend defense token step now for the defender. The defender in this situation does not have any way to remove that blue critical icon that is showing. He's spending 2 of his defense tokens, his brace and his redirect. Now that that is done, now you move on to the final step, which is the resolve damage step. At the top of the resolve damage step is then when the attacker gets to declare which critical that he wishes to use, whether he wants to resolve a standard critical effect, or if he wishes in this situation to say, hey, I've got a blue critical icon showing, I'm going to resolve Overload Pulse's effect now. What does this card then actually affect? The 2 contains that were then not spent. So then you would exhaust the 2 contains on the ship, and the blue critical die still counts as a damage. So you're still dealing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Braced in the half is 4. So then you're still doing 4 damage to that MC75. So I know I took the long way around to explain it, but hopefully does that answer your question, or is I need to go in depth more detail for that for you? Raga Maga Gun True Run Gay. You got a long name. Michael mentions like heavy ion displacements, assault concussion missiles, assault proton torpedoes. Yeah, Overload Pulse was. It's never been a good card for that reason, because the defender can spend his defense tokens and exhaust them, and then Overload Pulse would go off, but it didn't matter because he's already spent defense tokens that would have mattered anyway in most situations. So that's why that card isn't a good card. The only time that that's a good card that works in a situation is when it's essentially the very first attack that you can do on the target that you're trying to put damage on, but it's coming from a ship that is dealing next to no damage, if that makes any sense. But the thing is that if in order to get most of your small ships that close to be able to accomplish that, guess what? You're typically in range of lots of other things that will then blow up the ship that you're trying to do that with. So it's a suicide run, essentially. So it's like, why would I want to trade a ship to potentially trigger this card one time, and then it explodes, and I'm left with nothing? You get nothing, and that's why you don't see that card ever played. There is an argument that some people have tried using this card with like Raider 2s with decaps, but then at the end of the day, it's like, why not heavy ion emplacements? They're a point cheaper, and it strips off a crap ton of shields. So why would I spend 10 points for the other card when HIEs are 9 points, and it's a far better card? So yeah, Overload Pulse is just dumpster pile garbage card. Doesn't stop people from trying to make it work, and I applaud those people. What else we got going on? Talk about some list stuff. I think you guys saw me when I played, or I uploaded that video of that Akbar list that I've been playing. And it's got the I know my face is probably in the way for some of it. Yeah, a little bit. No big deal. So if you look to the left here on the video, you can see all my cards, on the left-hand side. You know what, I'll just go ahead and just flop this back down. Okay, there we are. So you can see here I've got Akbar on MC80 Assault with Bale, Engine Techs, and doing the double whammy of ECM, Early Warning System, Leading Shots, Quad Batteries, Defiant. So this ship, as 60 was talking about before, was like, how do you take something like this down? It's hard, because with Defiance I have an Assault Frigate, I've got a Pelta, I have 2 GR75, so it's a 5 activation list. It's Squadron list. Squadron list is definitely not, just easy mode. You gotta have a really good plan for it. But this list I've been having a lot of fun with, because Early Warning System, if they got large squads, well, that kind of really puts a damper on them trying to kill my MC80. Not that they can't, they definitely can, just makes it harder for them. I'm typically traveling slow so I can get the quad battery turrets and Defiance, all the extra die. Because with the 4 red die coming out the side, and you add Akbar, so that's 6. And then if they're going faster than you, then you get the quad battery die. And then if they activated before you did, that's the Defiance. So I'm throwing 8 dice just to start with. And I have one shot in Arcadins at long range before with this build. It's just brutal. It's a brutal build. That's just Defiance, though. Defiance is just a fantastic card. So I've been having a lot of fun. I take a Assault Pelta and gave it Intensify Firepower, so it's just die fixing. So there's really I only have 3 ships that really need die fixing in my fleet, and that's the Pelta, it's the MC-80, and the Assault Frigate. So I'm not like having a ton of ships, but it's just nice just having that extra damage or the ability to just like re-roll, have re-roll insurance, or if you want to like re-roll and try to get something on your red die, like with leading shots, or if I got Cackle and Sholin. I like the fact that I can kind of gamble with my red die a little bit, and then just if one of them still ends up being blank, I can turn that back into a hit. My Assault Frigate, I keep it pretty cheap. 89 points cheap, but for Assault Frigate, that's really good. Assault Frigates I love. They're just so tanky. They're really hard to bring down. They've fallen out of favor as medium ships just kind of have. But you have Lando on there. You've got reroll ability. You've got countermeasures, so it can use its brace. It can take a lot of damage, and if it's able to Akbar and throw the 5 right, because if I have double arc, then a double arc, which is always really good. But if I can only get the single shot, then I just throw the 5 die. And Lando just pretty much means that anyone with a large ship just trying to roll up on it to just kill it instantly is still going to have a really hard time because it's Lando. Not that they can't kill it, but they're just going to have a more difficult time trying to do that. And the Pelta, just again, engine techs, racks, just the black die. If anything wants to get up on it, try to kill it. It most times can survive long enough to counter punch back. Engine Text gives it speed 3, so I try to use it, a little bit of bait. And of course the CommsNet to defeat tokens and things where need be. So I've been having a lot of fun with this list. I've been working on a couple other ideas because I'm done flying 2-ship. I'm done with 2-ship. I think most people are done with 2-ship. They just want 2-ship to move on, but that's what's the meta right now. And of course, there's lists that counter 2-ship now. I mean, by the time people are getting frustrated with it, I'm sure Gencon will still see 2-ship. But anyone taking 2-ship to Gencon, by this point, the fleet archetype has been around for more than a year. And I definitely would say that unless you, like, if that's the only thing you know how to fly, take 2-ship. But if you're taking 2-ship, you definitely are going to have a lot of counter tactics that you may not know how to deal with. Mainly, I've been playing around with a lot of things like what Dennis took to One of Worlds is the Salone Relay. I've done a game or 2 with that, and that's been a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying that. Of course, a little while ago, I also had a video where I was doing Drop Fleet Tag, Drop Fleet Gazanti. Still got a list with that. It's a lot of fun. Pretty much you just stuff a bunch of Rogue Speed 3s into Rapid Launch Bays on Gazantis, and then you just pop them out. Because you can actually get a little bit further range than you can with Squall that way. The Gazantis have Flight Commander, Slicer Tools, Rapid Launch Bays. So pretty much you just chuck your Gazantis at them, and then they spit out a bunch of rogues. It's actually the most legit use I've found with Boba Fett so far. Because typically with Boba Fett, it's really hard for him to get him to use his ability. But if you pop him out and somebody comes shoots him, usually you have the ability to be able to then activate them and get that count, that automatic 1 damage back on a squadron. So it's the best use I found with Boba Fett. Otherwise, I don't hardly ever take Boba Fett because he's super expensive and he dies real fast. Yeah, Brian, I love HIEs on Raiders as well. What's up? Oh, nice, sweetie. She's probably sitting over there like, stop doing nerd things, gross. Oh. Well, I'll help you. I'll help you when I'm done with the live stream, okay, sweetie? Okay. She'll figure it out, I'm sure. Alright, how many people we got watching? 5 watching. You guys aren't being very chatty. No chatty Cathys. Can you explain the role that flotillas play for a newbie? I mean, you might need to be a little bit more specific about what you're asking of me, but to try to answer that question, flotillas, remember you can only bring 2 now. It used to be that you could bring like as many as you wanted. You can bring a whole list of them if you wanted to. Thank goodness they finally, yeah, that was getting dumb. But you're capped to 2. So what's the role that flotillas play? Well, they're the only ships in the game really that can give tokens out to your other ships. So in the case of your ships that have fleet commands, if you're forcing that ship to do the command to save the token so they can use it the next turn, like, that's typically very detrimental to that ship trying to do that. So tokens are very valuable, and it may not seem like tokens are valuable, and it doesn't seem like tokens are worth a whole lot, but navigation tokens and squadron tokens are the 2 best tokens. Navigation being, my personal opinion, is if your ships don't have navigation tokens, you're not giving yourself the ability to be flexible. What can give you those navigation tokens? The flotillas with CompsNav. Another thing too is another role that the flotillas have, slicer tools. The ability to fly and mess up with large ships dials like really throws other people's plans way out of whack. A lot of people don't bring slicer tool insurance anymore, and in some situations you don't need slicer tool insurance because it doesn't matter. But I'd say in almost every case, like if you have a navigation command on a Star Destroyer and you really need that navigation command, and then a slicer tool flotilla flies up and turns it to a squadron command, so you can no longer track on target of something you're trying to kill, like that messes with your whole game plan. That turns something that was going to be a surefire kill because you're going to nav into it to I can no longer nav into it, and then it's just going to sail on by my ship and you just keep blasting away at me. And with flotillas, because they're so cheap, like if you waste shots killing a flotilla, 90% of the time it means that you were not shooting at a more valuable target. So for a round, that could make a difference between, winning or losing with your large ship if you had to waste a shot on something that's annoying the crap out of you. So typically, they're also really good at pushing squadrons. So the first and foremost, they're great at pushing squadrons, and it's activation padding. So, and when I say activation padding, so remember, the first player always goes first in a game. Second player always goes second. So if you're first player and you have, say, 5 activations compared to a second player's 4 activations, what's going to happen is you can always go first every turn. So you go first, then he goes first, second, third, four. And then guess what? You still have 1 more activation than him, and then that ship can go last. Why is that such a strong and important thing to have? Because your most powerful ship you want to be last, like a Star Destroyer, an MC-80, or Yavaris, or Demolisher. Something that's able to just pow out so much damage at the end of a turn, and at the start of the next turn, it pows again, and it will kill. I mean, I've seen Demolisher kill larges with the last first. I've seen Yavaris will absolutely kill any large ship with the last first. It's those last firsts that are so strong because as the second player in this instance with only the 4 activations, unless he's playing super cagey with a lot of navigations and he's trying to jank up that first player's plan, that is why the first player can just wait out second player with a strong ship, pop in, hit what he's trying to hit, start of the next turn, he hits it again, almost always will then explode it, and then he keeps on going to chase after potentially other targets. Or if his ship took some damage coming in, if it needs to bounce out, then it can just bounce out, and you can't chase after it because you lost, essentially whatever that ship was that was probably holding your list together. So flotillas give those activations because they're cheap. They are very cheap points. Now, obviously with 2 ship, for example, it's kind of turned that whole thing on its head because it's only 2 ships. Granted, with Price, which her ability is that, for a large or medium ship, it can go last on a turn regardless of how many ships activate before it. But it can only go last. It can't activate at any other time. But that's why 2 ship is so strong, is because it tossed out the activation game with Price and just says, I get in position where I want to be on round 1 or 2, and then at the start of round 2 or 3, I then activate that ship blast, and it's going to blast away at my targets. That's why 2-ship is so good. Although now that Price has been out long enough, most veteran players kind of know how to play around here. But that's why last first is good. Or in the case of, if you're first player and second player and you have the same amount of activations, that's flipped back against the first player. Because sure, the first player can go first, but guess what? He's got to move all of his ships in range of the second player to start with. Okay. So even though that last first sounds really good, again, if second player is playing correctly, well, the first player has to move a ship in first to the second player, and then the second player blows that ship up. Okay, because then the first player has to continue to feed into the second player. So there are pros and cons to both sides to that activation game, depending on what your list is. Same thing with objectives. So again, if you're first player, you're not picking the objective, remember, the second player is. So, if you're forced to pick an objective that's not very good for you, like, for example, Most Wanted, well, if they put Most Wanted on your big, heavy-hitting ship, well, not only is extra die now being thrown at that ship, when it does explode, it's worth way more points, and that often will make up whatever the ship that you just killed with that one. And then, in terms of, that's how they make up the point advantages, disadvantages between first and second player. As a first player, you have to have a plan to deal with any objective you may come across, and as second player, your list needs to have a reason for why it's bringing these objectives. Don't just pick random objectives and throw them in your list. You need to evaluate what is going to give your list the most benefit against somebody maybe who's bidding 20, 30 points to ensure first player. Punish him for that. I design lists now where I don't bother trying to bid for first. Why not? Because there's always somebody there who's going to bid out harder than you. And so if I can get first and my list has the ability to be good at first, if I have the choice, I'll take it. But otherwise, if my list is designed to where second player is an advantage to me, like that Akbar list I was just showing you, it's best as second player because it has Bail, which allows it for one turn where it can go first. So you can throw that whole first last thing the opposite way as second player, and that's where you can really get into all these different things. Does that kind of answer your question about the flotillas? I know Michael says they work as blockers, squad pushers, yeah, activation padding, annoying slicer tools, yeah, they're all those things. Let's see here. And by blockers, what he's meaning, if you have, for example, a large ship and you have a flotilla, and there's another large ship that wants to get at close range, or like Demolisher, and he wants to get up next to your ship so he can blast it, you can move that flotilla to be just right in the way to where he can't get close enough to your ship to do the damage or the ability that it wants to do. It's got to run into this flotilla first. Okay. If that answered your question, great. If not, please continue to ask more. Speaking of raiders, how much do you think Aiden will boost their stock? I hardly see them use my local meta. So raiders really died when Crymoons entered the scene, because Crymoons, they just blow them up instantly. All you need is one accuracy and the ability to toss out 6, 7, 8 damage, and I mean they pretty much just die. And so that's why you don't see them, because they just die to everything. And they're just, their movement really sucks at speed 3 and speed 4. They're great at speed 2. I mean, they're fantastic at speed 2, the double yaw. But their issue is just that they suck on defense. So Aiden will absolutely boost their defensive power, because there's another thing too, is squadrons just wreck raiders. Because raiders don't have a redirect. So what does a squadron have to do? 3 to 4 squadrons can kill a raider. I've seen it happen. I've seen it, 3 to 4 squads will absolutely just kill a raider in one go. Yavaris will kill a raider, and it just doesn't do anything. So that's why raiders have fallen out of favor. Aiden, so that's the new card, Rebellion of the Wren. Aiden Verso, she's an Imperial officer. And what she will do is that if you spend an evade, if you are at distance, Was it close range or distance one? I can't remember. I think it's close range. Let me go look. I don't want to give out any wrong information. Let's go to Star Wars Armada Wiki. Which, by the way, Triangular on the Star Wars Armada Wiki, he's been uploading all my videos to the Wiki, and I just can't thank him enough for that. I actually am trying to get an interview with him to go over like some stuff most people may not be aware of. He lives in Germany, so not that the time is hard for either of us. It's just actually finding the time to sit down and go over it. Hold on, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Rebelling in the Rim. Iden Verso. Here we go. When you resolve the evade defense effect, you can cancel one die at close range or distance one. Squadron Command, you may discard this card to choose one enemy ship at close range. That ship gains one raid token of your choice. So she's 6 points, but man, what an amazing card for 6 points. So this is really going to bring Raiders back into the game. Because the Raider is the only ship that Imperials have that has double evades. So literally the only ship that is worth taking with her. I mean, you could put her on a ship of a single evade, but like that evade token is going to get overheated really fast. So that is going to make that Raider a lot more survivable against squadrons, because squadrons just rip Raiders apart. And also just being at close range, typically at close range, most ships are throwing attack and die that they have accuracies and they're locking out the brace. So, you know, that's definitely going to give her a lot more survivability. At medium range, it's not so good because it's just a reroll. So she's best at close range and, you know, the long range. So yeah, I absolutely think Iden will see a boost in that. You'll probably start seeing one in play, depending on the list, because it's going to boost their survivability to actually be good enough to bring for anti-squad again. Because nobody brings them for anti-squad, because in order to give them the ability they need to stay alive, you got to put tuna and early warning system on them. So now you have like a 60-70 point raider, and you're like, why am I bringing a 60 or 70 point raider when I can bring a Quasar Fire for 79 points? It's like, it's dumb. It's like, why would I want to bring one ship when I can bring a carrier and it will be a far better activation? So that's just the crappy things about Raiders. It's just they're too expensive. Okay. But hopefully Iden will change things. There's always more cards coming out too. I mean, hopefully the new stuff will change things up. Speaking of ECMs, Gazanti with tuna and ECMs, suppressor, and slicer tools. That's a very expensive flotilla that sure would suck when it explodes and you give your opponent however many points that is. Let's take a look at it. That was the thing with the drop fleet that I was playing around with, is just, man, when they explode, there's so many points. So if you've got suppressor, and you've got the tuna, and ECM, and slicer tools. So 43 points. Whoops. So 43 points for that Gazanti. And yeah, it's super annoying, and the enemy has to commit multiple shots to killing it, but guess what it's still susceptible to? Squadrons. Squadrons don't care. Because typically if you're throwing a bunch of squadrons at that flotilla, it doesn't matter if they scatter or not. I mean, it's going to explode. So the only thing that ECM helps with is surviving long-range shots from one or two targets. Essentially the one large whammy shot from like a Crymoon or an MC-80. That's about the only time where that is useful. Or if you have the ability to stick it in front of a Star Destroyer and just keep slicing it and it can't kill your ship because it can't roll in accuracy, yeah, it's fantastic. But again, when it explodes, it's still 43 points. And it still just hurts when that ship is gone. But it's a thing. A lot of people will run it, and it's just still like with most flotillas, you're just susceptible to squadron attacks. Because it only takes, again, double scatter. So 2 squadrons to burn the scatter if you do a good enough roll, and then 2 squadrons. I've seen 2 squadrons kill a Gazanti after that. So 4 to 5 squadrons, we'll say. So it took 4 to 5 squadrons to kill your Gazanti. You know, for me, it's just not worth the trade-off. But like I said, some people have found some use and success in it. Flotilla with rapid launch bays, 2 fighters in the bays, plus 2 more of hyperspace assault. Yeah, I mean you can put a flotilla in the hyperspace assault plus the 3 extra fighters. I've done it. It's hilarious. Is it effective? Debatable. It's a lot of points for that. Um, it works. It's a thing. Like with anything, I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's a thing, and in my experience of trying to play with it, I've not had any success with it. That doesn't mean that you may not find success with it. They should have allowed ordnance pods for raiders. You know, I'm on the fence about that. Really on the fence about that because when the ordnance pods first came out, I was all like, "Oh man, why didn't they put ordnance pods for small ships? It's so dumb. They're for medium and large." And then I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? That is actually really, really broken, and I'm glad they didn't. Why? Let's show why. Let's show why. Um, I'll build the reason why. So I'm going to put external racks on here, but it's going to be ordnance pods. So this is 58 points for Raider 1, Callus, Ordnance Experts. I know it says racks, but we're going to say it's ordnance pods. And actually, to make sure you guys can see it, I'm going to bump it down. There we go. And Impetuous. Okay. So you've got a Raider that can not only flak out one whole zone, add an extra black die. So it's dealing anywhere from 2 to 3 damage. And then you can do Impetuous and then do another 2 damage. Because again, the Ordnance Pods is the 1 black die, add Callus if it's against a unique target. So something like that is just brutally effective against Rebels. And or even against Imperials, you're forcing Imperials to spend scatters and or brace, and they just essentially it's outputting a lot of damage. Now you can counter with the argument of, but if it's such a threat, it just means that it's a more valuable target that they have to kill it. Well, again, balancing all things, I just think it just would be super strong, and it just would. I just think that people would build a list where they would try to last first with the raider, and then just pretty much just wipe out a squad ball pretty effectively. Although you can pretty much do the same thing. I've been seeing people run the demo 2. Here, let me show you the demo 2 with Callus. So a lot of people will run the Gladiator 2 with Demolisher and Flechette torpedoes. And sometimes they'll take Screed as their admiral, sometimes not. But even just having something like this, I've seen the Gladiator, you know, because Callus, again, if you're attacking unique squadrons, named squadrons, I've seen Callus potentially roll for the Flechette and lock down half a squadron ball. It gets pretty ridiculous. And that's already, like, I'd say that's pretty powerful effect to be able to do that. But ultimately, I don't think ordnance pods. I think it's a good call that he didn't give the small ships. Because, oh right, not so much because of the Raider. Everybody, hold on. Not because of the Raider. You want to know why? It's this asshole right here. It's the freaking Hammerheads. Because can you imagine if the Hammerhead had the ordnance pods and it had the Task Force Armada, and I mean, look how cheap of a platform that would be. Okay, so I've got now a 39-point ship that's better than a Raider at flacking than a Raider, and yeah, for 39 points. Because remember that Raider we had to kit out for however much. It's just better because it has a redirect. It's got the redirect. So yeah, that's the biggest reason why is because the Hammerhead. Because of the Hammerhead. Because you can Hammerhead, you can put the officer. Let's see, we'll put Ordnance Experts on there. Because then too, like What rebel officers? I guess they really don't have any rebel officers that can like reroll black die. But if you switched out that hammerhead for the scout variant, you could do something like this. Alright, but it can't take the ordnance pods. Well, for the most part, I think the reason why smalls can't take it is because of the hammerhead. Because of that butthole. Because hammerheads can do everything a raider wishes it can. But I think we'll see more raider play once Rebellion in the Rim pops out. Because we don't know what the new ship titles are. The raiders getting a new title. All the ships are getting a new title. So that's really going to switch things up. Yeah, raiders can be used as flankers. I've used a lifeboat raider for my that relay Salone list. You know, as long as you're super cagey with it and you know what you're doing. I've had my Salone lifeboat raider come in on like turn 5 or turn 6 and blast at something that was trying to escape or put in enough damage on something that it helped bring down like a large ship. Like I had a case where an MC-80 was trying to get away, and I brought my Salone Raider and I parked it right in front of the MC-80 on the end of round 5, which the MC-80 only throws 3 dice at the front, so there's just no way it's going to kill the Raider. So my Raider just sat there, and it actually prevented the MC-80 from like escaping to get out. So then I was then able to throw the rest of my stuff at it and kill it. Otherwise, it would have gotten away. So there's definitely cases to be said. I mean, Raiders have a role. It's just really hard right now in this meta because of large ships are just so good. There's Strategic Advisor, there's Bale, there's Price. Prime Moons and MC-80s will just annihilate most small ships, you know, at range fairly consistently. It's just hard. Things might change. Because I would love to see more small ships again. Because even the guy who brought all ships to Worlds, Truthfulness, or Truthfulness. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Can't say his name right. You guys know what I'm talking about, Truthy. Let's take a look at his list. Because even he brought a, here we go, 9th? Yeah. So he brought Hammerhead. Yeah, even he still brought an MC-80. And then he had CR-90s. And GR-75s. No squadrons, though. Duckbird brought that all ship list too, or not all ship. She had a few squadrons, I think, but you know, mainly it was a bunch of ships. I was trying to think. Somebody did bring, I thought, a list with a bunch of smalls. Here we go. 17th place. I think this is the one I'm looking for. Yeah. So we're looking at top 25, top 30. Nobody. The closest an MSU list made it was 17th place with a bunch of hammerheads and GR-75s and one CR-90. MC-30, probably Riken? Yeah. So the highest MSU with Riken that made it was 17th. And I don't know the matchups or everything that he faced, but I mean, that's the highest that an MSU list could go, was 17th place. Which says a lot. MSU used to be really popular. I meant the jerk Kazanti above as a flanker. I use Rebel Slicers as flankers also. What ships do you think could really use new life breathed into them? Oh yeah, so anyone watching the Tuna ECM suppressor slicer tools, it's often referred to as a jerk Kazanti because it's a jerk and you can't kill it. Especially if you bring like tag, and so it just gets its scatter back after it scatters everything. Oh, so annoying with tag. I mean, because of the fact that Gazantes have the two yaw on the first and second, it almost always can kind of track to where you need it to go. It doesn't need navigate command. Um, you often can push squads with it. So yeah, I mean, if you have it on a flank and you've got two like powerhouse squadrons that can tag along to be activated by that flotilla, like Merrick Steel or Jendon or Moraki, even Moraki could still tag along theoretically. With slicers, yeah, you can definitely cause somebody to have a really bad day with that, especially something like Yavaris. But then with that big of a threat coming in on a flank, Yavaris is going to send crap to go kill it and then tie up anything else that it can, if possible. Um, but yeah, something like that on a flank is always good. You just got to be careful that it actually is able to contribute to the battle. That's my issue is that I bring something like that and then I usually don't have the activations or the squadron drop to out deploy, and I have to put it down too soon, and then my opponent can usually just plan around where it's going to go. But like anything, it has uses. You just gotta like with anything, you just gotta have a plan. The ships that could use the new life breathed into them, obviously Raiders. I'd say the Raider is definitely the worst off right now. You could make the same argument about VSDs. VSDs are in a really, really, really hard spot. So, what breathes new life into them? Ship titles. They got to have competitive ship titles. You need a reason to bring the ship, and that's ship titles. So I'm excited to see what the new Raider ship title is going to be. I'm excited to see what the new VSD ship title is going to be. Just new titles in general breathes a huge new amount of life into the game. Just drastically changes a whole lot. Other than that, it's mainly for Imperials, it's Raider and the VSD. I think Arcadans are fine. Arcadans are just their own thing, and you just gotta love them or hate them for what they are. Although if they just had a slightly better nav chart, I know I would be a little bit happier. Or not even just ship titles, ship cards. Do you like what they did with the Star Destroyers? Give these ships. Don't make us go out and buy a whole nother different ship. Just make new ship cards for the same ships we already have, and change up their nav chart or their upgrade slots. That's how you breathe new life into ships that you have. That's how you encourage people to keep buying the same product they've already bought. You change up their ship cards. Make it a Raider 3 version, and it's got, I don't know, 20 points cheaper. I have no idea. For Rebels, um, boy, I mean, I've seen Rebel ships used in all sorts of lists, all different sorts of way. I honestly cannot say that there's a single Rebel ship that needs a lot of help. Let me read the thing here. New Life, the Assault Frigate Mark A. Yeah, the A's are kind of their own thing. The assault frigates, I think, are amazing for their price. I think it's like every time I see the assault potato, I just look at the victories and I'm just so sad. Victories are so sad compared to the assault potatoes. I mean, I had a victory get hyperspace dropped right next to a game I played. Dropped right next to my assault potato, and I just activated it first at speed 3, and it outranged the victory. So I shot the victory up, and then it sped away. It's like, man, I wish victories could do that. Wish they could go speed 3. I mean, you could. Their extra anti-squadron dice is nice if you choose the A's, but they're just too expensive. They're too expensive for what they give you. Would you suggest only taking a ship if you could put a name title on it? Not in all situations. But the reason why ship titles exist is usually there's a reason to bring them. I mean, do you ever just see a naked Quasar Fire without Pursuant or Squall on it? Do you ever see an ISD without a ship title? Sometimes, but almost always it has Avenger on there because Avenger is so freaking good. Sometimes not, depends on your fleet. Do you ever see about the only ships that I see that don't have titles is like Arcadans? Arcadans usually don't have titles. Gazantes don't have titles because the Gazanti titles just suck. Suppressor's okay, but it's not like a reason in of itself to take it because again, you're spending more points on a flotilla that is not contributing hardly anything in the fight, and you want those upgrade points for something else. VSDs you'll often see not run without a title, although I always run mine with Warlord because I think Warlord's a fantastic title. How often do you see a Gladiator without Demolisher? Same thing with the Raider titles, unless you're bringing it as a dedicated flak boat, you don't see Raiders run, or as a lifeboat, you'll always see the Raiders run as titleless. For Rebels, you'll often see MC75s with no titles. Even the MC80s you'll often see with no titles, but usually they'll make it fit for Defiance because Defiance is so good. Again, how often do you see a Nebulon B without Salvation or Yavaris on it? The Peltas don't bring titles. Home 1 or the Phoenix Home. Phoenix Home is a great title, but it's not a title that you need for every situation. So Peltas will often get run titleless. CR90s are always Janus Light. 2 points for amazing card. You always see as Janus Light. Hammerheads you often will not see with titles. Because typically there's a gimmick or something that you're building around them with either Task Force Organa or Task Force Achilles, or you're bringing just the one with Grail's Honor. And of course the titles for the Rebel flotillas are stupid, broken, overpowered with 1 point for Quantum Storm, 2 points for Bright Hope. They're ridiculously good. Would you suggest only taking a ship if you could put a name title on it? So yeah, I mean, you definitely could take like Archidans and Raiders, and not put titles on them. I mean, technically you could take Quasar Fighters and Star Destroyers and not put titles on them. It just depends on if you need those points or not, what you're trying to accomplish with the ship. But typically you bring the titles because it's making that ship so much more effective at what it already is doing. Card upgrade packs for the win. I mean, I see Rebellion in the Rim as a card upgrade pack. That's pretty much what it is. That's what Crowning Conflict was. It's just giving you more cards, more objectives. I know some people want to see just a pure pack with upgrade cards that you normally, it's very difficult to get otherwise. Like for example, I was looking at something the other day. I already knew the Liberty expansion had unique cards that are only in the Liberty pack that aren't found anywhere else. Did you know that the Liberty expansion comes with 5 unique cards that are not found in any other expansion? Chart Officer, Skilled First Officer, Spinal Armaments. What were the other cards? Like, it's ridiculous the amount of cards that this thing comes with that it's in no other expansion. Let's go look. It's like, why have they not put these cards in other things? I mean, yeah, it's the only ship that has Spinal Armaments that you can get. Which, man, it sucks to spend 40 bucks to get Spinals. I'm lucky. I mean, I did buy a second one just because I did want Spinals. I got it on sale. Yeah, it's the only ship that comes with medical teams. It's the only ship that comes with Chart Officer and Skilled First Officer. So that's 3 cards. It's the only ship that comes with the high capacity ion turbine, so that's 4 cards. Yeah, so 4 cards, so high capacity, Chart Officer, Skilled First Officer, Medical Team, Spinal Armament. Oh, and it's the only one with a fire control team, so it's 6 cards. It's just ridiculous. Like, what the hell? Super Star Destroyer. Oh, Veteran Gunners. I mean, the Super Star Destroyer coming out has Veteran Gunners, but like, you're not gonna spend 200 bucks just to get Veteran Gunners. So it's like 7 cards. That's 7 cards that comes on the Liberty, not on anything else. Quad Turbo Lasers. Oh no, and Quad Turbo. Oh my gosh, I did not realize that. Okay, so guys, there are literally practically every single card on the Liberty you can't get anywhere else. The only thing you can get anywhere else is the MS1 Ion Cannon and engine techs. Yeah, engine techs are everywhere. Nebulons, Gladiators. MS comes on the Interdictor. So pretty much the Liberty is such a cash cow. Because it's the only thing that comes with all of these unique cards that you can't get otherwise. It's ridiculous. I do wish that they would put out like a card upgrade pack for some of these cards. I don't think they will, though, because they want people to buy the models. Entrapment formation, does that allow you to change the speed dial itself? Let's take a look. We'll pop out a fleet command. And I know the answer to it. I will tell you. Let's just read the card. Entrapment formation. At the start of the ship phase, you may discard this card or spend a navigation token. If you do, until the end of the round, each friendly ship may change its speed by 1 during its determined course step. So to answer your question is yes, entrapment formation allows you to change the speed on your speed dial itself. Your physical dial. And by the way, oh man, if you guys want to talk about like intricate rulings and things like that, like speed dial and speed manipulation in this game is like one of the hardest things to like grasp my brain around, because you have your speed dial, the physical number that's on your speed dial, but then you have temporary speed, and then you have like a third type of speed. So like 3 different speed types that can happen, and depending on cards and situations, things that will only be affected by the speed that's on a ship speed dial, or it will only affect the temporary speed of a ship dial, or it gets crazy. It gets really intricate with some of the rulings on some cards and things. Pretty much that shit whack. Warlord is so good but so expensive. I mean, 8 points, I don't think it's expensive. I think it's very well priced for what it does. You can change any die facing to a hit for 8 points. I think it's well worth it. I mean, would I prefer it was 6 or 7 points? Sure, but then you're getting close to like Defiance and Avenger territory with how amazing those cards are and how low costed they are, in my opinion. I think that Warlord was priced well for what it does. Never underestimate Gazantes. They can attack ships and surprise with opening salvo. I mean, that's true. I have killed ships that thought they're going to get away with Gazantes, the little one plink wonders that they are. But with opening salvo, though, man, if you're taking a Gazanti to try to use an opening salvo, you're going to have a bad time, because typically rebels will have way more ships than you, meaning that they're going to get way more extra die added than you are, and they're going to get that benefit of opening salvo. Dominator is stupid overpriced. It makes me so sad that it's 12 points. Dominator should have been 8 or 9 points. Because the trade-off is huge. You're sacrificing shields, to accomplish that. So I definitely feel like Dominator should have been 8 points. Maybe they put Warlord at 7 points, Dominator at 8 points. But that's hindsight. I mean, when they first came out with the core set, with those titles, they had not fully fleshed out 400 points yet. They had no clue where they wanted to take the game. But yeah, that's some Star Wars stuff. I'm excited for The Mandalorian coming out on Disney Plus. I'm probably going to pick up Disney Plus for Mandalorian to kind of change topics a little bit. I think Mandalorian will be a good show. It's got Pablo Pascal, who's an amazing actor, in my opinion. And it's why Vics are often run naked. Yep, you got it. That's why Vics often don't have titles, because their titles are super expensive. Even with 7th Fleet. Even with the 7th Fleet. Okay. Alright, I've been streaming for a little over an hour. I think that's a pretty sufficient amount of time to live stream. I don't think there's any other questions or anything else. Any last minute stuff you guys want to pop out at me? Anything else you guys want to ask about before I wrap this up in the next 5 minutes? Wait for it to relay. That stream delay. Aw. Kiss from my lovely. Am I going to nationals? I am going to Gencon, which is the U.S. or the North American Championship. So I think nationals, that's Nova Open. I will not be going to Nova Open. It's also in August, and I just can't take off that much time off. Because like I'm already taking a week off the end of July. I'm gonna be gone for a week. I come back to work for 2 days, and then I'm leaving again, or 3 days. 2 days, 3 days, 3 days. No, 2 days. Yeah, because they want me at Gen Con on Wednesday to get set up. So yeah, I leave for a week, come back to work for Monday and Tuesday, and then I fly out Tuesday night to go to Gen Con to get there early in the morning. Which is stupid. Oh man, flights annoy me. So I get a flight right to go from my airport to Indianapolis. I have one layover. Where is the layover? In Chicago, like 3 hours away from Indianapolis. It's a 4 hour layover. I could drive that. I could pay a bus driver $20 to bus me from Chicago to Indianapolis. The amount of time I have to wait for my stupid layover. But and I couldn't find anything to get around that. It's just annoying. Just annoying. And I'm not gonna ride a bus. I would die riding a bus from Chicago to Minneapolis. I'd get lost, and then I would show up late, and then who knows what would happen. Girlfriend over there is taunting me. But yeah, so not going the Nova, going the Gen Con. I will be judging for Gen Con, and I will also be doing demo as well. So Thursday and Friday is Armada. That is roughly 19 hours of time, or more, depends. Because in order for me to get like the benefits and stuff, I have to do 24 hours of volunteering for FFG. And then so that's like roughly 19-20 hours. And so then Saturday I'll spend some time demoing so I can get the rest of the time, and then have fun the rest of Saturday night, and then however long Sunday night, because my plane doesn't leave until 5 p.m. Sunday. So I'm going to be staying at Gen Con for the entire duration, and then fly back home, and I'll get home. It's so funny, I was able to find like a direct flight from Chicago back to my airport with like no layover. It's just so annoying. Like, why can't I have that in the opposite direction? But for coming home, that's what I would want. I want to get home faster. I'll get home at like 9 o'clock Sunday night, and then I have to go immediately right back to work Monday morning. Yeah, if you live close to Gen Con or if you got the ability to go to Gen Con and Nova, and you got the capability of doing it, for me it's just the plane tickets, because I already flew out to Chicago this year to go to Worlds, and that was expensive. For me it was expensive, which is why I'm glad that now I'm going to get some benefits, and it definitely makes it a whole lot cheaper. I mean, that's pretty much the hotel room will be provided by FFG. Again, it's part of the reason why I have to volunteer. Which when I went to Worlds, I mean, hotel and badge cost was like half the cost of going. The other half was plane tickets. So now I'm able to go, and I'm just having to spend cost on just the plane tickets, and then I get the hotel room, which I do have to share. It's not like I get like the presidential suite or anything, which is fine. That doesn't bother me. And I get a free badge. So, and then I can watch players play Star Wars Armada. Oh, another thing. We're currently in talks, or I'm currently not in talks. I'm currently trying to find out. I am talking to my representative with my contact with FFG about if I can live stream while I'm there. And the answer I got was, I don't know, but the likely answer will be no, because they have their own policies and things that they have to abide by. And me being, even though I'm not a full-time employee, I'm still being contracted by them. There's still guidelines I have to follow. So we'll see if I'll be able to stream or not while I'm technically working. I will be dressing up though. I'm bringing my director Karneck outfit. You bet I am. I'm gonna show up and make rulings with that. It'll be a glorious time. see. So you are judge, jury, and executioner, and so will FG let you stream some of the matches live. I think I've answered that. I think by this time that information has disseminated to you. Judge, jury, and executioner. I mean, hopefully I don't have to execute anybody. I wouldn't want to do that. I do hope that they let me demo Outer Rim because man, I had so much fun playing that at Worlds. So I wouldn't mind actually demoing the game for people. Because I got into it. I was role playing. I was Han Solo, so I was role playing as Han Solo. Anyway, that's been over an hour. So I'm tired. I've got some other things I need to work on today. I got my car that wants to explode, so I need to call my dealership and figure out why it's trying to explode. And some other stuff. I do appreciate you guys joining me. Keep watching my videos. I'll keep having updates. I am going to eventually, now that I'm running out, I'm not running out, there's definitely still plenty of content for like card reviews and stuff, but I'm definitely going to try to focus more going into the future, like, once the SSD and Rebelling the Rim drop, I will be doing more like what's meta, what's not meta, like what's a good list, what's not a good list. I'm not doing videos like that right now because in 2 or 3 months, what I'm saying now will not matter at all. So I don't want to put in the effort to talk about that when it's not going to give people a whole lot of benefit. But I've got lots of ideas for lots of content. I mean, I've got content planned out for the rest of the year for what I want to do. Next year, that's a different story. But I do appreciate you guys joining me. If you can, please share the Discord, to people. I'd love to see more people on Discord. That's like the easiest and fastest way. If you want to talk to me or chat, hit me up on the Discord. I'm there practically all the time. So yeah, I'm super excited for the new expansions. Just to cover some stuff real quick, I know there still have been forum posts of like, "Oh, Armada is dead." I'm like, it's not dead. Like, SSD's coming out, Rebellion Rim's coming out, Clone Wars is coming out. They have 2 more expansions coming out that they haven't given us any information on, but they've told us that that's coming. All of this stuff is coming because it's not dead. Armada is not dead. There's still tons of content coming out. I'm super excited for the game. It sucks waiting. I know it sucks waiting, but we just gotta wait. It's coming. It's just their production is so backed up right now because of Legion and mainly X-Wing 2.0 through their production for a huge loop. But all the stuff is coming out. Armada's not dead. We got lots of Armada. All right, you guys are great. Like always, I'll catch you all next time.